San Francisco was terrorized in the late 60s and early 70s by a man who called himself the Zodiac Killer. He claimed 37 murders. Police confirmed at least 6.
Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we are again going to talk about a serial killer who goes popularly by the name Zodiac Killer. Now I know all of you might know him, at least have heard about him, since the Zodiac Killer was in the news recently. But I am not sure if many people might know the history of the killer. So to sum it up, Zodiac Killer was accused of at least 5 murders, and he resided in the area of North California and between 1968 to 1969. Zodiac Killer is known to have influenced the Hollywood industry because after the killings of Zodiac Killer, there were a surge of movies, books, short films, videos particularly depicting Zodiac Killer. One such movie which I would like to talk about is a feature movie called as Zodiac, and it was published or released in 2007. So that is one example of how the Zodiac Killer influenced the Hollywood industry. Now coming particularly to who was Zodiac Killer, Zodiac Killer was accused of at least 5 murders. He is suspected to be residing in North California area, and the murders he is accused of took place between 1968 to 69, and particularly 5 murders which is known to public by now. There might be more which might not be reported, but at least the ones which are reported are 5. Now, what was so charismatic about him that many people are drawn towards him? So I would say he liked to play with the local police and the publications, because he would occasionally send them letters which were in a hidden language or which had a lot of codes which was needed to decipher. The era was obviously late 60s, and the technology was not that developed yet that anyone would decipher these codes which were mentioned in the letter. But some people have tried to decipher, and one such event took place in 2020. The news went widespread, even though Zodiac Killer was a figure in the late 60s, but till now people were engaged in decoding what his letters meant. Out of the 5 attacks, the first attack by Zodiac Killer took place near the Lake Herman area or Lake Herman Road, and the names of the victim were David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, and it happened on 16 December 1968. The second attack took place in July 1969. The names of the victims were Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau, and it happened near Vallejo. Ferrin was killed. Meanwhile, Mageau succumbed to injuries, could reach the medical aid on time, and upon taking his statement, he said that Darlene and him were both sitting, and suddenly a man approached them with he had a flashlight, and suddenly he fired multiple shots at them. Later on, the police department of Vallejo received a call where a man took responsibilities of the crime. Now the third victims were Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. They were near the Lake Berryessa near Napa County. A man emerged. He was hooded and he stabbed them. And after stabbing them, he wrote a message for the police on the car door. And the message was again strange and could not be deciphered. Now both the victims were found in a very critical condition. While Shepard died due to her wounds, the Napa Police Department received a call from a man who reported the attack and claiming the responsibility. Now this was the same account like the previous one which discussed, where a man urged and suddenly stabbed 2 victims, Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau, and then later called the police to take responsibility of the attack. And then the third murder was something which brought Zodiac Killer into limelight. Now by now, if you see the first murders, initial murders which we talked about, were mainly couples or mainly youngsters who are hanging around. But this time it was a taxi driver whose name was Paul Stein. Now, after the killing, the police department and the newspaper publication received a letter, and it contained gruesome details about Stein's murder, and it also had Stein's shirt which was covered in blood. And at the end of the letter, the killer put a hint about his next attack, claiming that he would shoot a buck. The fifth attack happened in 1963 to another couple, Robert Domingos and Lena Edwards. In 1966, there was another murder of Cherry Jo Bates, which happened in California, and this murder played a huge part in decoding one of the suspects of the Zodiac Killer. Now, after the Vallejo incident or Vallejo attack, the San Francisco Chronicle and Vallejo Times received a letter as August 1st, 1969. The letter did not contain any address or the name of the person who sent it, but it included graphic details of the killings which happened in the area earlier that time, and which led to people suspecting that this can be the killer who has sent the letter. Now, this is what the letter said. Dear editor, I am the killer of 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman. At the end of the letter, it would threaten to go ahead with further attacks if the letters was not published. So this was the thing about Zodiac Killer, that he would commit a murder and he would call the police claiming the responsibility of the attack and then going into hiatus. Almost as if he is trying to play a chase with the police. And on the other hand, he would send letters to the publications and ask them to print the letter, and if not so, then he would go ahead with another attack. Now, this was something which was a very crucial step for the publication, because the letter which had got primarily to them was a matter of investigation, and they could not publish it to the general public at that time. But they were forced to do so, because if they did not, then the killings would continue. Why have we given this strange name of Zodiac as to a killer, and why not any other name? So the primary reason for that is all the letters which the police received or which the publication received had different codes and different accounts, but at the end of the letter there was a circle with and that was considered as a signature mark of the Zodiac Killer. When they were trying to decode the ciphers which are given in the letter, the primary people who were engaged into investigations were Bay Area Police Department, and FBI was somewhat investigating into these cases because the cases were increasing and public were demanding an answer. Actually, the FBI had to step in as well and help in the investigation and decoding the ciphers. Now, when they were trying to decode the ciphers, there were many unsuccessful attempts, and with every unsuccessful attempt, there would be a letter near their doors, which was supposedly by the Zodiac Killer, and it actually mocked the police and the investigation team because they were not able to decipher his code. So, one couple, Donald Herndon and his wife Betty, they both were high school teachers, and they were able to solve the cipher. With the letter stopped in 1974, and so did the killings, which reduced in number. And Zodiac Killer slowly went into hiatus, and it was forgotten like a page in history. But recently it resurfaced. A code was deciphered by 3 people from US, Belgium and Australia. A suspect called as Arthur Lang Allen was considered to be a Zodiac Killer, and let us look at the positives and the negatives of the argument. So first, Arthur Lang Allen was actually a school teacher who was fired because of molesting of children. The theory goes that the Zodiac Killer wanted to serve in the Navy or in political office, and due to which he actually knew a lot of these codes, and it was found out that Lang Allen was also serving in Navy till he was discharged in 1958 for undisclosed reason. He molested a child in the school he was working, and he was in prison for 3 years, and he was also suspected of carrying a gun in the camp. While he was a teacher in the school, he never took a leave, and the one day he took a leave was the same day when the 6th victim, Sherry Jo Bates, was stabbed. Michael McGough, which was one of the victims of Zodiac Killer, picked Alan out of a lineup, which was however not very sufficient since it happened 22 years later. Alan's shoe size was also similar to the footprints found in Zodiac crimes, and he also used a similar brand and model of typewriter which was used by Zodiac while writing letters. One important information was that Alan had a friend whose name was Don Cheney, who went to police and confessed that his friendship with Alan was broken because he suspected him to be a Zodiac Killer. He said Alan fantasized about killing couples and he wanted to be called as a Zodiac, and even signed his letter in the same manner with a circle and a cross. So why hadn't the police arrested him? So the argument against goes that the Zodiac Killer, being Alan, was not a proper proposition because the DNA and the writing samples between them both did not match. So Alan was not charged with any murder, but he passed away in 1992 due to heart attack.